Good evening, dear netizens, all you out there. This is Brawili speaking. I am here with...
I'm Vince West.
You are listening right now to eNitiate Visual Radio. We're here for the next hour.
Yes.
Looking forward to great insights on what happened on the continent in the digital space. And by the way, I am the founder of eNitiate Integrated Solutions. Vincent is my co-driver, and we're doing some great stuff. You can check us out on eNitiate.solutions. eNitiate spelled E-N for Nelly, I-T-I-A-T-E .solutions. Check us out and see what we do. But we're looking forward to bringing you some great stuff tonight. Or am I on the ball on this one, Vince?
Yeah. Oh, you are definitely on the ball. Thank you to Joy Komane with the Building Your Brand show. They'll be back. He will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. So, Brawili, like you said, we are very excited to be here. Our service offering is broken into 3 areas. We listen through online monitoring. We engage through content strategy, and we measure through analytics.
Exactly, based on whatever metrics that we have put in place.
So it's as simple as that. So you are more than welcome to join all the conversations we kickstart here. We have a Facebook page. For starters, our Facebook handle.
Our Facebook handle is simply eNitiators. Our Twitter handle is _initiators. And you can also get hold of us on Google Plus, and on Instagram.
Of course. So we're reaching out to the whole continent to be part of this conversation, because unless we as Africans tell our very own stories, nobody ever will. Or if somebody else does, they will always pervert our reality.
Absolutely. And interestingly, we've got the most recent example of the fact that unless we tell the stories ourselves, no one will. Obviously, our angle is Digital Africa, and we go out of our way to bring you only the positive stories. We're not interested in the negative ones. There's too many out there of them, and largely media are interested in the negative stories. We're not. But the point quickly is the fact that we know what's happening what happened in Nigeria a few days ago, and at the same time it happened in France. But you know, there's been a social media storm out there to say, why isn't Nigeria covered to the same extent as France? And the point we're making is we shouldn't be complaining about these things. We should be the one telling the stories if we want the world to listen to us. We can't be asking, why are the media telling only the French stories and they're not telling the African stories? Are we telling those stories ourselves as Africans? That's the question we're asking.
Funny you should say that, because you compare the Charlie Hebdo France case
absolutely
to the Boko Haram Nigeria case.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Charlie
Hebdo in a moment.
In a moment, yeah.
Okay, so just a brief line that the Nigeria issue, everybody's been saying, reports claim that up to 2,000 people were massacred.
Yeah.
And no conclusive report can say this is the number.
Yeah.
And
true,
with the France Charlie Hebdo case, there's records that can be pulled out to say this many people here, this many people there.
Actually, I'll tell you what, Vince. Can I ask that maybe we kind of put a pause on it so
it's
that
fine,
we don't digress. We're here to tell you positive stories.
Yes, we are.
That's really what we want to talk about.
Cool. So what happened in the last days then, Brawili?
Man, so much has happened, and we're really going to go out of our way to find even the positive angles even in those stories that may be gloomy. But starting with eNitiate. At eNitiate, we had our first podcast of our show from last week, Vince.
We did.
But unfortunately, though, we're not going to publish the podcast because we were not happy with its quality. You see, we are about quality. It's something that we really pride ourselves on. So, we've taken some good stuff from the podcast. We've learned a whole lot of things. The unfortunate thing is you are not going to hear the podcast in its fullest.
It's one of those bird in the hand. Is it bird in the hand where you say when somebody says what do I have in my hand? If you say it's a live bird, they squash it to death.
Yeah.
You'll never find out what I have in my hand, but I've got something in my hand.
Absolutely, Vince.
Yeah. So we were excited about the podcast. They won't get to hear it, but today, going forward, we're definitely building up a good bank of podcasts that we will publish.
We certainly are. Look, to all you out there, at the least, we are keeping a good record of how we're running this show. We are reviewing how we're doing it so that we can really just keep improving every show that we broadcast on this channel.
Cool. www.radiojunto.co.za. So back to those stories, Brawilo, of what happened at eNitiate in
cool
particular.
Stuff. The second thing that happened, which I'm really excited about, Vince,
cool,
is that we actually released our logo of the show, which is eNitiate Visual Radio.
Yes.
So those of you who want to see it, visit our social networks. Remember, again, on Twitter, we are _initiators. Initiators with starting with E. Go and check it out and actually give us your comments. So that's the one thing that we did. And the other thing, Vince, is we added in our online tracking monitor, we added these keywords. Sona 15,
12th February.
And actually we know that there's all sorts of interesting rumblings that are taking place there, and I'm not going to go into it because this is not a political show.
Right.
We also added these keywords: Rugby World Cup, Cricket World Cup, and AFCON. And we know that AFCON is happening in a few days' time. And in fact, it
starts on Monday.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to be tracking what's happening with AFCON, and we'll be bringing you the highlights from an online mention tracking point of view. The last one that we added, the last keyword, Vince, is the PL Fan Zone.
Oh, yes. I happened to have watched the show last week, Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was actually my third time in a long time stumbling on the show, but it's captivating indeed.
I'm loving it, actually. Now, here's one interesting thing about this show that I'm really enjoying. You know, we keep saying to people, don't look at media in silos.
Right.
Look at media in an integrated fashion, because when you look at it in silos, you're missing the point. People are dabbling across the media platforms depending on what appeals to them. The one thing with the PL Fan Zone is that they are using TV predominantly to do the broadcast, but they are then doing interviews with people from across the world using the likes of Skype and to some extent telephone. But the Skype is the one that appeals the most to me, Vince, because it allows them to actually do visual interviews with the various people. And interestingly, as you and me found out, the bulk of the people who were being interviewed on Sunday were from Africa.
They were indeed. I remember there was a certain Thabo from Botswana.
Yeah.
And then I also caught a Skype call by one gentleman from Cameroon.
Yeah.
I know for a fact he was a West Ham supporter.
Yeah.
And you said there were two South Africans that called in. And
one of them was an Arsenal supporter. And obviously now that Arsenal won 3-0 on Sunday, it's not surprising that there was somebody on there talking about it.
Funny you should say this. I think it's on a parting shot in terms of online mentions.
Yeah.
Soccer related.
Yes.
Please, can we get some stuff on the Ballon d'Or or online mentions?
I'll tell you what, before we even go there, this is what I found interesting about the online mentions for PL Fan Zone.
Okay.
On the top 5 countries in the world, the top 2 are Britain and Italy.
Right.
And the remaining 3 in the top 5 are all African. In this order: Nigeria, South Africa, and Algeria.
Interesting
indeed.
It is awesome indeed.
Yeah.
So please, just for me, because I was watching the FIFA Ballon d'Or awards, and the battle between Messi and Ronaldo is ongoing rivalry.
So
I'd love to see how it panned out in terms of social media support for the awards and the ultimate winner, of course, Ronaldo.
You see, unfortunately, because of what was happening in France,
everything was kind of like swept under, ne?
Exactly. So much as we did some bit of online tracking, we didn't focus on it that much, except that we know that Ronaldo won, for the consecutive time.
Yeah.
But we didn't pay much attention to it as we did to Jesus Charlie, and we will talk about it at a later stage.
Okay, so that was a recap of this what we've been tracking in the past 7 days
Yes.
at eNitiate.
Correct.
Right. So now moving on to other circles, because obviously we don't live in an isolated world.
Yeah.
We all watched with horror what happened, but what did we learn in terms of everything that happened around the world?
Starting with South Africa.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we were talking about, we were projecting what is going to happen in 2015, and one of the trends that we projected was that there's going to be growth of e-commerce on the African continent. One thing that slipped my mind, Vince, is that there was news of the fact that Kalahari and Take-A-Lot are merging.
Hey.
And those are the two biggest online retail stores in South Africa right now.
True.
They are merging. The competitions board have approved the merger. So we're going to see an even bigger online retail jump in South Africa. We must just watch the space. So that's that. And then the interesting thing about Uber.
Yes.
We know that Uber is really revolutionizing the taxi industry everywhere they go. And, they're followed by controversy and all those sorts of things. Now, two things. On the legal side of things, it has been found in some parts of the country that some of their taxis are actually not up to scratch. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And a good number of those taxis were impounded. The other thing, though, on New Year's Eve, over the period, it has been found that they have been overcharging some of the people quite a bit.
I read a story where they charged somebody, I think, 4,600 for a I can't remember the exact distance from one location to another.
Yeah.
And the person was saying, for the same amount, I could have booked an overnight stay at a 5-star hotel.
True.
And it made absolute sense. And I can't wait to see how, the rollout of the service will pan out, because the controversy is like such an attached part of Uber.
Yes, I think they're actually thriving on controversy, aren't they? I'm just hoping it's not tarnishing their brand though, especially when it comes to overcharging people. That becomes a problem.
I definitely hope so too.
The other big thing that happened, which was big on social media, ANC 103.
Hey.
Actually, we were tracking ANC 103, and interestingly, we found that much as it was happening in the country, ANC was celebrating their 103rd birthday. It was a global event because people were talking about it across the world.
So, which hashtag made it? Was it the Amanda Challenge? Because it was so related to ANC 103.
Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know what the Amanda Challenge is, it was where followers of the ANC would garner up support to say as many people as possible at one place and take a selfie and post it online.
Yeah.
So I don't know how big. I think DJ Spoo was one of those people that acquired as many people as possible, something over 70,000 fans, to take a selfie as part of the hashtag Amanda Challenge.
Yeah. The hashtag that really made it was the ANC 103. That's the hashtag which was used really very broadly.
Great.
So the Amanda Challenge tended to be a South Africa predominantly type hashtag.
I'm with you.
While ANC 103 was just across the board. Okay, moving on.
Right.
The spread of free Wi-Fi in the country is really gaining momentum. Okay, two examples. One is Santaco. We know that Santaco has rolled out a free Wi-Fi in their taxis in the Joburg area, and also as we came to discover, the Rea Vaya buses are also operating free Wi-Fi services thanks to the Joburg city. So we're going to see some interesting developments, because we know that Pretoria is already on a free Wi-Fi tip. And I'm not going to be surprised seeing that happening in all the major cities across the country right now. So that's an interesting development. And in fact, we want to ask a question, and the question is, as a country representing the continent for that matter, are we actually ready to be taking over the role, not taking over, but joining in production using digital technology? Because now that we're having lots and lots of free Wi-Fi, are we doing something productive with it? Or are we just using it to consume even more of the social media and online news? I'm actually keen on it. And I'll speak to it just now when we get into the educational bit. The last one on South Africa, Vince, has got to do with a paperless classroom pilot, which was launched by MEC Panyaza Lesufi in Tembisa. For those of you who don't know, Tembisa is actually part of Gauteng, and MEC Lesufi is actually the education MEC in the province, and he launched a pilot on the paperless classroom today as part of the back to school concept. And I know you want to say something about it, but let me just be quick on the paperless classroom concept. All there is to it is about 7 classes across the Tembisa area in the different high schools were given tablets, and the teachers were then given some bit of training, and they were expected to be teaching using tablets only and using no paper whatsoever. It has created a lot of vibe. I'm actually excited about it, and in line with what I was saying, the question now becomes, are those kids being taught how to use tablets to produce as opposed to use tablets to just consume some more?
Well, top of my head, and as an assumption, obviously it's a learning environment, so it will never be for social browsing purposes. Maybe we hope. It will be, I assume it will be for research and maybe for downloading ebooks.
Yes, that's a big one.
Yeah, because I also saw it even at primary schools. And one of the reports I heard said that there will be an on-site technician at those schools to help out with whatever glitches that can possibly be experienced.
Yes.
So now, in line with the whole back to school thing, everybody was posting on social media, and I came across a very interesting article, and then I posted something on my Facebook timeline. I go by Vince West on Facebook. It was a status that read, "To the class of 2015, we hope to read about you in this kind of light sometime in the future." So the kind of light I was referring to was an article that I found on the SouthAfrican.com. The article was profiling 6 South African entrepreneurs under the age of 30. And these guys are making it big. And one particular thing they have in common is that most of the guys represented on this top 6 list have made their fortune from digital companies.
Listen to that.
Okay, in no particular order, let's look at Rupert Bryant. Now, this is the guy who started running his own web development company since the age of 14. Okay, and at 16, one of his friends asked him to do a joint venture with him, and now he's the CEO of the ISP company Web Africa. He is, as we speak currently, he is 25.
Listen to that. And we happen to use Web Africa's hosting services for our company.
Almost a lot of companies are using, Web Africa. The next guy on this list is Justin Stanford. He's 28 years of age, and he founded an internet security package, which goes by the acronym eNitiate. Okay, this company has successfully penetrated around 20 African markets with the venture capital firm, which is known as 4DI Capital. So the story is, the company is 4DI Capital, but their biggest product to date is an internet security package called eNitiate. Cool. This guy is only 28. Okay, Vusi Tembekwayo, he's the CEO and founder of Motivate, which is a specialist consultant company. He is known for being one of the youngest board directors of a JSE listed company.
He's done well for himself, you see.
Only 27.
We're very proud of you, man.
Only 27.
Yeah,
so
and we also know that he's on the Dragon's Den.
Yes, where they are discovering entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Of course. So if you take away, just randomly think, if you take away 12 years of school from his 27 years of life, means that he's been at it for about, 15 years. That's phenomenal to see that a young brain has extended itself to this level. And then another person to mention from this list is Ashley Ace. He is in the medical technology field. Okay, so his company has created affordable medical kits for use in rural parts of Africa.
Cool.
Okay, so he's only 29 and he's used medicine combined with digital technology to come up with these medical kits. And one of the guys there is Ludwig Marishane. I'm sure you know the name. He invented the dry bath.
Yes. He actually featured on one of the TEDx sessions, yeah?
Yes, he featured on one of the TEDx sessions, and he actually, Google named him as one of the most intelligent young brains in the universe.
Yo, not only in South Africa. This is the thing about the continent, isn't it?
It's phenomenal. That it doesn't stop there. He was voted best student entrepreneur in the world by entrepreneurs or by the World Entrepreneurs Organization.
I mean,
how crazy is that?
Just, it fills me with so much pride knowing that we have people coming from the continent and making a global impact.
They are definitely making a global impact indeed. So to the class of 2015, we hope that to those that started school today, in a couple of years' time, give it about 10 years or so, we will be reading such kind of stories about young Africans making it big.
I'm going through our published tweets here because I know that when the IEB schools published their results, which was a few days before the end of 2 weekends ago, we actually published a tweet about a young gentleman who was actually in his matric, and I can't tell you why I cannot find his tweet, but he runs a company called Last Sightings.
Okay.
And this gentleman, I'm so embarrassed that I forgot his name, but I'll find it. His YouTube channel is the biggest in the country because what he's doing, he's encouraging people to, when they come across sightings, in the kinds of the national parks and stuff, they must then record those sightings of the wild animals.
Okay.
And then post those videos on his internet. He then, with his team, he goes through such posted videos. He selects the ones that are really best in terms of the uniqueness, and he posts those on YouTube. His channel is the largest in South Africa right now, and as a result, he's one of the entrepreneurs under 30 to watch.
Wow, that's phenomenal indeed.
I'll find his name right now before the end of the show, I promise.
Okay, cool. So you're still tuned on to eNitiate Visual Radio. I'm the co-pilot along with Brawili. We are representing eNitiate Integrated Solutions.
Absolutely.
A digital marketing firm, company. We give services in 3 packaged areas.
Yeah.
Listening through online monitoring.
Yeah.
We engage through content and marketing strategy.
Yeah.
And we monitor through analytics.
Absolutely. And we are offering these services with one objective in mind: to assist companies develop an online footprint with a view to obviously making sure that they can do what they do best, and they've got healthy online brands out there.
Cool. So we gave you a bit of a 7 days recap of what we were busy with, and from a South African point of view.
Yeah.
Now, do we have something overseas? I'm sure we do.
In Nigeria, interestingly, this whole Wi-Fi story is actually catching a lot of momentum, not only in South Africa but across the continent. The government, we came across an article where the government of Nigeria announced that half of the country's 140 million Nigerians are to be connected to broadband by the end of 2015. That's 70 million people.
Is there some local elections coming up soon?
There is.
And
we're not going to ask if this has been used as some kind of a lobbying tactic.
Random
Whatever it
question,
is,
yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Let's hope that the government is going to deliver on it. And guys, much as we know that there's all sorts of horrible things happening in Nigeria, we are deliberately going to ignore those purely because it is our objective to try and bring across the positive news, because whilst Boko Haram is doing its own thing, there's all sorts of positive things happening because life is continuing outside of the north of Nigeria, as it were. The last thing on Nigeria, interestingly, Vince, is that Wiko Mobile, which is a French mobile outfit, they have received a license from the Nigerian authorities to officially launch their mobile phones in Nigeria. And you will remember one of the things that we spoke about as the 2015 trends is that we're going to be seeing increased penetration of mobile phones, and specifically smartphones, on the continent. And the countries of the companies of the likes of Wiko Mobile are actually going to be helping, because they're coming in with mobile phones that are just as good, and yet they are competitively priced. So I'm looking forward to reading up on Wiko Mobile to see what they're doing and how they're doing it, because I'm actually hoping that they come to South Africa at some stage. We do need competition in this country in the smartphone market.
So speaking of smartphones, I'm just thinking, if there's going to be this massive rollout of free Wi-Fi in Nigeria,
yeah,
where cell phone technology is so well entrenched into that culture, I'm just thinking to myself, Wi-Fi means you need to have a smartphone.
Yes.
So am I backwards for thinking that most of the guys are not necessarily on smartphone, even though they are on mobile?
Well, it's interesting you saying that, because the penetration of feature phones on the continent is still very high. It's just that, interestingly, we find that people are not using feature phones for internet access as they should. Maybe some of them, they don't know that those feature phones are internet enabled, and it's a very wild assumption on my part. But stats show that people with feature phones are not accessing the internet to the same extent as they should. So that's one thing. I mean, the last stat I saw on South Africa as an example is that the smartphone penetration in the country was sitting just under 20%. And there were predictions that it was going to go up to more than 30% by the end of 2015. But we also know that most of these trends have actually been underestimated.
True.
So I would not be surprised if by the end of this year we end at 40% penetration. Because here's just one thing that is not factored into these stats more often than not: the hand-me-down aspect.
Right.
Because when people are going to buy their second or third smartphone, they're not tossing the first or second one.
True.
They're actually handing it down.
I mean, that's so correct. I think randomly, personally, I still have like some 2-3 phones lying around.
There you go.
I'm not necessarily using them,
yeah,
but they're there anyway. And when I have an issue with another phone, I always go back to a previous phone just to hold me up. That's actually a good point to consider, the hand-me-down phenomenon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ne? Okay. 8:28 is the time. We've been bringing it, eh? We've just been
we're
bringing
so on
it.
fire tonight. And funny enough, we don't have an interview lined up for tonight, but we're so on fire. But we're looking forward to lining up a few interviews. We're speaking to various people across the continent, because, guys, we can't do justice to the content that's coming from the various countries. We're really appealing to you netizens out there who are outside of South Africa within the continent to work with us, because we'd like to get as many people to participate and tell us about what's happening in their markets from everywhere on the continent, literally.
We are indeed. So, on a bit of a breather, lighter note,
Cool.
but still, encapsulating the African continent. Late last year, we saw the Channel O Music Video Awards, and one of the winners was a guy by the name of Donald. Okay,
Yes.
he's a phenomenal sensation, and I know that he's working on possible collaborations with another African artist by the name of Diamond, who was also a big winner at the Channel O Africa Music Awards. So, I hear a story on the radio as I'm driving yesterday, saying something to the tune of Donald's album Train of Love has done over 1 million album downloads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. I'm starting to sizzle here because I'm thinking, that's crazy. That means this brother is on his way to the moolah. And now I start Googling to say, something, Donald's album, da. Interesting enough, here's what I find in the results. The top four results, the sources that are mentioned to support this story is a blog called thejuice.co.za and another blog called Epic Living, and then flimfella.blogspot, and lastly Drum Magazine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. I click on the Juice link, and then the story goes, the album has done over 1 million downloads, etc. But when I read the whole article, I do not find a source that is accredited as, a reference to say you can go here to check how exactly, the validity of this story. Now, when I look at the Juice, and this is not a particular stab at the Juice. The Juice is the same blog that published that Casper Nyovest, a South African musician, had been chosen by iTunes as Artist of the Year for 2013. So 2014 rather. So it led me to the discussion, to the thought, Brawili, that which platforms can we rely upon to verify things such as musical or album downloads? Because it has been a controversial point, I know, particularly in South Africa, where we've had a particular artist always winning best downloads in the country, and everybody thinking it's a controversy, it's not true. But if I remember properly, all the time it has been with the help of one, a credible organization such as the South African Music and Rights Organization, SAMRO, as they were working with the South African Music Awards, with the help of a service provider such as MTN.
Yes.
So at least in that case, you can put 3 organizations that could have possibly, verified those downloads.
Yeah.
But with stories such as this, I congratulate Donald for this milestone, but I'm just concerned about us as Africans. Possibly, are we creating platforms that can recognize such milestones?
Absolutely.
Because in the continent right now, there's no particular body that you can go to confirm downloads.
Yes.
So I think it's just going to be interesting for the development of artists who possibly want to also be recognized, to say, could we come up with a body that recognizes digital downloads so that stream of revenue can be accounted for the sake of the artists?
Actually, the mobile operators have been doing a great job at it, but the only trouble is it's not at an industry level. I know that DJ Cleo at some stage was very popular for his MTN digital downloads, and that was part of the Summer Awards.
It was part of the Summer Awards.
Yeah.
But other than in South Africa, other than DJ Cleo, we've never had any other successful case in this regard.
True.
So I think it's a very interesting avenue to be explored by anybody that could be, having the resources and the means to verify these accolades, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wrote a blog on eNitiate.solutions some time ago, and the blog is available. If you go to check on eNitiate.solutions under blogs, look out for a blog titled hashtag Digital Goes Platinum.
Yes.
It's an article that I wrote some time ago. It was building on the release of Jay-Z's Magna Carta, the album which was downloadable through an app created by Samsung, where you had to download the app in order to exclusively get Jay-Z's album before everyone else.
And we were commenting at that stage that he made a lot of moolah without doing the legwork.
He didn't have to do the legwork, but obviously one of the cons of the whole thing is that some people, the app disappointed some people because the building of the app did not anticipate the overwhelming support.
Yeah, how can you not anticipate that with Jay-Z, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So go read up on that blog, because it still speaks to the same avenue that we just started now, to say it is critical that we find a body that can verify these kind of milestones.
I think it is incumbent on all of us who put stats out there to try and first verify the sources that we use and actually quote these sources.
True.
As opposed to a source, we found a source that says, because it puts into the question whether those sources in the first place are authentic sources or not. So, and I'm saying this to us as well, because we blog a lot, for those of you who actually follow us. And those who don't, feel free to visit our website, which is eNitiate.solutions. Visit our blog page, and you will see that we blog quite a bit. We try as best we can to use the authentic sources and also reveal who those sources are, so that anybody who's interested can actually go and check them out.
And I think the more this happens, Brawile, I think it will go a long way to demystify the whole idea that online, especially social mentions, cannot be tracked.
Yes.
So that people can get a sense that, like most companies will always do, comparing offline with online in terms of AVE, in terms of ROIs, to say if I spend on social, what's my ROI?
Yes.
Can you really quantify it? Because there's been a lot of speculations and debates to say the value that you can get offline is not the same as what you can get online.
Yes.
Or some, directors saying, I'm putting 20,000, 40,000 as a retainer to this account. I expect to see this much value generated on online mentions. And then you sometimes have to tell them, I can't give you this that you're looking for, but I can tell you what your audience thinks about you.
Absolutely.
Accurately so.
Absolutely.
So that's me in terms of this story that I came across, to say I wish somebody could verify such statements, because otherwise it's just reckless to just throw it out there to say so and so has done this, but there's no way where we can verify it. And I think blogs need to be responsible enough to publish their source.
And this is not us being disparaging of the various blogs, including Juice. We're just saying, let's keep ourselves in check. Let's hold ourselves accountable, guys, because if we don't do so, it creates an opportunity for even the government to start scratching, and we don't want that. So self-regulation is a key thing, because people know that they can trust us as a result.
Okay. 38 minutes after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That leaves us with a sweet 21 minutes before we say adios. But we still have some stuff. I know, Brawili, you have now the dessert course.
We still have some stuff, actually. I want to look at what's what has been happening globally in the last 7 days. Some interesting stuff indeed, and in fact we're going to post one such thing right now. A bit of an offbeat, Vince, if I can use the word.
Okay.
Especially because it's not typically in the digital space, but because that's where we picked it up, we want to talk about it because it's quite interesting. Let me read you this title. The title goes: "This ingenious machine turns feces into drinking water."
Excuse me.
I shouldn't be laughing. This is no joke.
Okay.
And guess what? The extract to this particular article, which we are going to post just now, goes like: Bill Gates recently got to check out the Omni processor, an ingenious machine designed and built by Geniki Bioenergy, which turns human waste into water and electricity. So, as you can gather, especially when you are from the continent, we're battling with the two things, which are water and electricity. And interestingly, the recent stats are showing us that the penetration of mobile phones on the continent is higher than access to water. So it is relevant. The other thing is, for those of us, who've been hit with this unfortunate situation lately, we are not getting reliable electricity supply in South Africa and also on the continent. I know this because in Kenya, as a result, there's a daily schedule of power cuts. And in Nigeria, those of you who have traveled Nigeria will tell you that it's so unreliable, it's not funny. So in given that, having innovations like these ones should actually be talking to us. And the one interesting thing about this particular article, and I'd like for you netizens to check it out. It shows Bill Gates nervously drinking the water that has been extracted from the human waste. So there we go. I've just
you've published it
on publish. So go check it out on all our social networks. On Facebook, we are just Initiators, and on Twitter, we are _Initiators. Go check it out, guys.
Okay, I'm actually I'm refreshing my timeline also, so that I can like it and put a comment on it, because
I think you must. It's quite an interesting one. Now here's another interesting one, which is a bit of offbeat, but it is relevant given the personality involved.
Sure.
One of Mark Zuckerberg's 2015 resolutions is that he wants to read a book a quarter. We all know that Mark is the founder of Facebook.
Yeah.
And he's now actually encouraging people to read a book a quarter at least.
A quarter every 3 months.
Every 3 months. And he has promised that he's going to be publishing a book that he has read once a quarter and put it out there for people to comment. What does it say about the need to read hard copy stuff still?
It's one of those. Earlier today, I read an article on entrepreneur.com.
Yeah.
About the 10 things that rich, wealthy people do.
Yes.
And poor people do not do.
My Lord.
Yeah. One of the things that
I'm one of the poor people, by the way, so I'm scared.
Come on, stop kidding. So, one of those things is that wealthy people read. They make time to read.
And funny enough, they don't have the time like a lot of us, but they read voraciously.
They do, and it pushed me to also get on with my reading. I picked up.
That's nice.
I picked up a book. It's just so. It's only disappointing when I forget the title of the book that I'm reading. It's only because it's a new book.
Look, it does happen.
I think it's accidental entrepreneur. Man, it's in the boot, but nonetheless,
that's fine when you do.
Yeah, it's a new book that I'm reading, because I've also just decided, you know what, I'm gonna practice those habits, because it's the line between the other side and the other side, and I'd like to find myself on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that Mark Zuckerberg wants to read so that means he wants to read only 4 books this year.
Look, I suppose he's saying as a minimum. Okay. And it's probably a good thing to say, because he doesn't want to put himself under too much pressure. I'm sure he will read a bit more, but as a start, he wants to publish a book that he has read once a quarter.
We look forward to that.
Which is a great one indeed. And you will notice, for those of you who follow me, Brawili _UNLTD, you will be aware that I try and keep up with a bit of reading, and I actually, publish some of the quotes coming from the books that I read. And I must tell you, I'm reading a potent book at this moment.
Not The Art of the Start?
No.
Which one is it?
No. This book was written by Linda Rottenberg, and I'm so glad that Linda did. It's called Crazy is a Compliment. Check it out on my timeline. I have published a few of its quotes. Remember, it is Brawilly, which is spelled BRAWILLY _UNLTD for unlimited. I love Linda, I must admit. She's relating some practical stories about the things that we must and must not do to get ourselves going as entrepreneurs. Awesome book. So anyone who's looking for any inspiring stuff about entrepreneurship must read this book indeed.
Okay. Now, speaking of books to be read.
Yes.
The French today
Yeah.
did some phenomenal reading.
Yes, they did.
Motivated by different reasons. But tell us about the staggering numbers that the Charlie Hebdo cartoon newspaper did, and the lessons to learn in terms of adaptation of online and offline.
Okay, let's start with about Charlie Hebdo, and I'm glad you pronounced it well, so I can pick from you, because otherwise I was going to be calling it Charlie Hebdo.
And by the way, it's Je suis Charlie.
Listen to that.
Not Je suis Charlie.
My Lord.
Allow me to school you.
Aha. Thank you very much, Vince. This is what I love about working with you. Now, Charlie Hebdo is a weekly French magazine, cartoon magazine that is published on Wednesdays, incidentally. So it is actually very appropriate that we're talking about it, because we are running this show, for those of you who don't know, on Wednesdays, 8 to 9 p.m. GMT +2.
Okay.
And they've been doing it for quite some time. Actually, this cartoon magazine was closed down somewhere in the 80s, and they got it back again in 1992. We know what happened about a week ago, and at that stage, Charlie Hebdo, is it Charlie or Charlie?
Charlie.
Charlie Hebdo was actually distributing only 60,000 copies on a weekly basis. 60,000, 60.
Wow.
Guess how many print they ran for this Wednesday?
The wow factor for me comes from the fact that I know what they ran this Wednesday.
There you go.
To know where they started. Please tell us the number.
3 million copies they ran for today's publication.
All sold out.
All sold out. And they also increased their country footprint. I don't have the accurate numbers here with me, so I'm not going to blabber them in case I get them wrong. But they have increased their footprint insofar as the countries where they distribute this magazine. So in a sense, where I'm coming at it from, Vince, is there was a tragedy. And as opposed to moaning and all those sorts of things about this tragedy forever, an opportunity presented itself coming out of that. Now, this business, which actually went bankrupt in the early 80s, is now going to be a flourishing business. And I'm certain that Charlie Hebdo are going to be looking at even digital format of the publication and so on and so on. And I think that they're going to be looking at other languages, because it is currently a French-only publication.
Yeah.
I'm certain that they'll be looking at a translation into other languages, because everybody is now aware of Charlie Hebdo and everybody will be looking to get a copy of it.
It's a random thought, but I thought to myself, doesn't maybe even going digital add to the safety of the human capital of the publication?
Actually, I don't think so. In fact, it exposes them more.
Even more, ne?
Yeah.
Okay.
It exposes them even more.
Because I was going to say, they don't need necessarily to be based at a particular office, but actually, it's anyway.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's leave that out. That out for our own sake, because we could get into trouble ourselves.
Was it a red herring?
I think it was.
Okay. That's right.
Here's an interesting bit. Here's another angle that we want to actually present here. The other angle is the fact that we now know of Charlie Hebdo from all corners of the world, thanks to digital technology and social media.
Because the story went viral.
Absolutely. And because of the Je suis Charlie, did I pronounce it right
you
this
did.
time around?
Spot on, 10 points.
And interestingly, here's another thing that I found out, Vince. There is now a trademark war that's happening for the Je suis Charlie.
What, somebody wants to coin now?
Absolutely, both in France and in other parts of the world.
Wow, because I even saw at the Golden Globes
Yeah.
that happened this week. Obviously, certain celebrities like George Clooney, he was wearing a pin that said "Je suis Charlie." Some celebrities on their iPhone cover cases, it was embezzled with "Je suis Charlie." You know, saying somebody out there is already making merchandise to curate the whole movement. So I think that's where somebody will definitely think there is a way to coin the whole thing, because by printing merchandise in any format, you can make money off of it, and definitely goes a long way towards curating the whole story.
You're absolutely right, Vince. And obviously, we know that a bigger tragedy played itself out in Nigeria almost at the same time. Okay, and without getting into the details, because they're all out there for you to for those of you who are really in tune, the point we're trying to make about this is, what can we learn as a continent, which can allow us to actually turn our tragedies into moments of
triumph,
moments of triumph.
Yeah.
Because certainly, you know, from where it all started a few days ago, now Charlie Hebdo has become a much bigger publication, 50-fold higher than where it was when it started. So the question is, what can we learn from this as a continent, so that we can really put our plight out there, as opposed to complaining about the fact that, you know, media are focusing on Europe and they're not focusing on Africa. We have a responsibility of Africa as Africans to actually put our stuff out there. That is the reason why we are having this show, because we're saying we want to be part of the people who are actually putting out the most positive stories about digital Africa, so that the world takes note.
That's absolutely the modus operandi of why we do this show. Remember, this show happens every Wednesday between 8 and 9 o'clock. And you can log on to www.radiojunta.co.za. That's where we are housed.
Yeah.
And it's a platform, like we said, to just put out positive stories about Africa. And we connect with other netizens from the African continent.
Yes.
And one of these days we will be, having guests from Nigeria possibly.
Yeah.
To kind of like give us an on-the-ground feel of what's happening in the country.
Yes.
And to, there's a lot of propaganda out there, but there's nothing as refreshing as the views from the people on the ground.
I agree with you absolutely. And we also hope to, bring in people from all sorts of other countries. Remember, we've got 55 countries on this continent. We'd love to speak to each and every one of the people from those countries. And for us, one thing that we have learned is that every country has an opportunity, despite all the stuff that's happening in those countries, including the likes of Somalia, including the likes of South Sudan. We know that there are issues that are happening on a political front. We're not interested in the politics.
True.
We want to know what's happening insofar as the digital space in those countries is concerned, because we know there's a lot happening.
There's a lot happening indeed. So, Brawil, did we literally clear up everything on our plate?
Not quite.
Not
we
quite.
left with one story.
Yeah.
The last story comes from the show that took place in LA called Consumer Electronics Show. It's an annual show. It's been happening for a few years. And the theme for 2015 was the Internet of Things. The long and short of this is that the major companies, the likes of Samsung and Huawei, were basically showcasing the concept of the universal remote that can be used for a smart home, where you are basically linking all the gadgets in your home, from your refrigerator to your whatever other appliances that you have in the kitchen, and also your motor vehicle for that matter. So this concept of the Internet of Things led us to ask a question, and the question is, how long does it take for technologies developed in the West to hit Africa? Because we know that when we started, the lag between us and the West, typically the US and Europe, the lag was fairly long. At one stage, we were 7 years behind the West insofar as, technologies starting there and hitting our shores.
Okay.
So what we did is we actually picked the iPhone.
Which was launched almost at the same, we South Africa almost got it right on the heels of the States, right?
This time around, yes. The iPhone 6, that is.
Whereas in the past, it would be a wait of more than 3 months.
When you go back to the first generation of the iPhone, we waited 3 months. And when they then launched iPhone 4, we waited about a month. iPhone 5, the lag was growing shorter and shorter. And to the best of my knowledge, we got iPhone 6 almost at the same time. So what it says is, as the continent, or at least some countries on the continent, we are on par with the rest of the world in terms of access to technology. Now, it brings us to a key question. And this is a question that all of us as Africans must answer. Are we using the technologies that are hitting our shores for producing, or are we using them purely for consumption? We know that, currently, to give you an example, there's iPhone 6 and there's iPhone 6S. And a lot of people are choosing to rather buy iPhone 6S because it's got a bigger screen.
You're talking about the 6 Plus. The 6 Plus.
There you go.
Cool.
Okay. And I'm wondering, okay, why
is that
are you
all
choosing?
there is to it? Yeah.
Yeah. And let me tell you a quick story which is of interest, Vince. When I bought iPhone 3, I bought the biggest storage I could afford. But I was using a fraction of that storage. But when I came to buy iPhone 5, I actually sat and did the numbers and found that I didn't need a large storage, because whatever I have on my iPhone, which is typically images, I can actually move to my Google Drive to store them there, to make sure that I have enough space in case I want to take additional pictures. And I saved money in the process, because you're paying upwards of 1,500 Rand just to get a bigger storage on your phone. So here's the question then. If for any of you who have decided to buy, the premium version of iPhone 6, really, what was the reason? Was there a productive reason for which you bought it, or you bought it just so that you can have it? And these are some of the questions that we have to be asking ourselves. And I can go on and on about it. The Mac. Some people are buying 16-inch, while others are buying 13-inch. Why do you choose to buy 16-inch? Is it because the bigger is the better? But exactly what does that mean?
To answer your question on the Mac.
Yes.
I bought the Mac 13-inch.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a MacBook Pro. And when I think about it now,
yeah,
I'm actually the new ones with the Retina display are out.
Yes.
And I'm actually thinking about getting a new Mac.
Yeah.
It'll still be a 13-inch.
Cool.
But I don't want the Pro anymore. I want the Air.
Cool.
Simply because I noticed functionality-wise, I don't necessarily use this CD drive.
Yes.
Which carries a bit of weight for the machine.
True.
So, as part of the learning now, out of functionality, I realized that I actually didn't need a Pro, I just needed an Air to begin with.
Yes.
So sometimes, to answer your question, people need to experience and use the product to actually determine what they actually need, instead of just using it to just have the wow factor on the table.
But and also at the same time, Vince, we are now 1 minute before the end of the show. But the other thing is, just interrogate why you want one version versus the other, especially because, as we find with Apple products, there is a bit of a premium you pay from one version to a better version. So interrogate what exactly you want to pay the premium for. Except, of course, if it's just you want to show that you have the money, which becomes a different issue. But being that as it may, this brings us to basically the end of the show. We've had lots and lots of stuff to share, obviously, with everybody.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to do even better going forward. You wanted to say, Vince?
Okay, thank you very much, Brawili, for all the insights you've been sharing. The book that I've been reading, that I picked up, is by Ronnie. What's this guy's name? Here, Ronnie Apteker.
Yes.
Okay. He is the founder of the digital company Internet Solutions.
Awesome.
Yes. The book that I'm reading is called Funny Business: The Secrets of an Accidental Entrepreneur.
And the name of the young gentleman who passed his matric and he runs a business called Latest Sightings. His name is Nadav Osendrever.
Okay.
Nadar, you are certainly our superstar, and we're looking forward to you being quoted as one of the under 30 entrepreneurs of
note,
the century, whatever. It is now 9 o'clock on the dot. It's been great. We've had lots and lots of fun. We're looking forward to bringing you some more in the digital space from the African continent. Remember, we're saying we're bringing Digital Africa to all you out there. This show is on www.radiojunto.coza, and it is called eNitiate Visual Radio. We have released our logo. Please check it out there on social networks, the various social networks. We welcome you to do so, and give us your views in terms of what other topics in the digital space from an African continent you think we must cover. I am signing out. My name is Brawili,
and for myself, Vince West. Until next time.